Hi, and welcome to the seventh episode. It's already seven. It's amazing. Seventh episode of BlazQ. Today, we're going to do awesome stuff around bidirectional communication and getting interaction into our quiz because we're heading towards multiplayer experience. So, as usual, we started with a kind of short summary what we are going to do and and what we have done so far. So. In today's episode, we're creating our lobby. Our lobby will be, you can see it's like working directly on the public internet. So I'm creating a kind of player profile here, very basic. I here have my lobby. I using kind of second tab to emulate a second player. So I'm Bob. Bob is Flower. Flower. I'm in the lobby. We can both see the same thing here. And what I do now, I say as Bob, I want to join lobby of Ben, and here we are. Okay, and I can add another one. I can add a third player. Let's call classical Alice, and Alice is Grumpy Cat. So we can see now everyone see Alice as a new player, and Alice can join, for example, Ben, which means now we have three players in a lobby, which also means Alice can leave the lobby and rejoin, leave lobby, and for example, leave lobby, and yeah, rejoin, for example, I want to join Alice, and now Bob is here. Okay, so, and yeah, you have may spotted a mistake here, also seen it while leaving the lobby. Maybe something we can do better here. Okay, so in general, what we're trying to do is now, after we have done a lot of episodes where we develop BlazQ entirely locally, so technically, we don't even need the internet for running our couch co-op thing. Now it's about getting into the mode where we can play it um, online. So we need to invest some time in understanding the kind of communication between client server. We need to understand how we can send data from a client, in which case is here our Blazor application, and how we can get like interactive notifications back from the server to react like updating our lobby. Okay, so this is what we want to do today. And we're going briefly through our slides here. Um, like always, a reminder of our learning values. Always feel free to ask any question. Also, feel free to correct me. And imagine what we are doing here is not creating the perfect software with a high level of technical correctness and best practice. It's about learning. And not to mention, we tried in our interactions uh, to think that everyone is on a different journey, an individual journey, and that the best way to treat each other is with mutual respect. So last episode, we had two free live viewers compared to what we think about the entire period of an episode. We had lost 5 views on Twitch and 2 on YouTube, so no feedback form received and also no discussion. We see a kind of constant declining of viewers per episode. Of course, over time, because we have 7 viewers, it's still a grow, but we can also see that the growth become much smaller here. So yeah, it's the second half. So I think it's in the second half we're going to more advanced technical topics. So maybe people want to will come back in some ways. Um, Overall, I think I've learned in the first 6 episodes a lot, and with a lot, I mean really a lot. And I have so many ideas in my head how I can use these concepts to create a kind of much better learning experience. Also, how I can use how I maybe can create more not more appropriate content, but content which is a kind of more suitable for live coding or streaming in general. Yeah, so I have a lot of things in my mind, but I really want to finish the series because for everyone who started it deserves an ending. And yeah, and on the other hand, I think I will still learn a lot during the last episode, which will influence how I will start next time. So yeah, anyway, I think we should jump direct into streaming. So let's jump into. So I activating my virtual machine should be blank and it should be back again. Okay, closing tabs here. I'm as usually starting by um, open PowerShell here, git clone repo name. Doo, 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 doo. Okay, and we jump into episode 7, where we are here. And this time we started or opening our window here. Um, yes, unresolved dependencies restore. So as a kind of reminder from last time were at a point where we was able um, to find a host for our application, which was just a host to hosting a bunch of files, and we were able to develop these or to deploy these server into the cloud, which was a great starting point. However, from now it's like these server is still valuable, but we need more functionality than just serving static files. So we start here by creating a new project. Um, we open PowerShell window here. I say .NET new. Now I need a kind of web API, which I want to call BlazQ multiplayer server. What web API means, I will explain soon. In a nutshell, it brings us more techniques of delivering content back to the client. And I want to add new. I forgot it. It's library. Oops. .NET new. .NET news. .NET new. That's a good one. List. And I think there's class lib. Okay. I want to create a class library, which is .NET new class lib, which should have the name of BlazQ, and I just name it shared. Why shared? Because in this library we put every files which should be used by the server and by the client, so it's shared between them. Okay, so we had added the two new project. I just make a show list. What we do now, .NET SLN solution file. We want to add two new solutions, which is this one and which is this one. Okay, so as a result, we have two new projects here, and we starting to kind of copy what we have here, which is technically use Blazor files, which is multiplayer server, startup class, which is um, here, use Blazor framework files, and we defining here a new endpoint. So you could see something new has happened. There's this kind of documentation thing. Um, we have more things here. We have also now something which is called controllers, which is also here like, oh, sorry, which is here like add controllers. Um, some other valuable things are already here. And there's also one other thing like app use laser. Oh, hadn't rebuilt it yet. Okay, we have soon. Okay, solution files are added. And next step is we get rid of our app hoster because we don't need this project anymore because we have the multiplayer server, which serves again also static files here. So some changes still need to do in a console. So I'm going into change directory. I want to go to our BlazQ multiplayer server. I want to have .NET add minus minus help because I want to add a new package. Here we are. I want to add a package. And I need to go one file ahead where I find my episode 7, where I find my CS project file. Oops. It's an interesting one. Oh, it's thinking like it's a package, I mean project, which is reference. I looked up and I was so convinced it is package reference, reference. So there we are. Okay, so I have a reference now to a multi, and if I'm going here at this position, I also will add our shared project. So BlazQ.share it, BlazQ.share it CS project. Perfect. So as a result, I can see I have in my project here a reference to the other projects. I have app hosting ready, and yeah, pretty much that's it. That is it here so far. I will close VS Code. I will open VS Code again. So, and a new version. Thank you for the February update. Um, this is a message I wanted to trigger and close it again. Sorry. And we try to do it again. Again, there are also like commands we can use inside VS Code to trigger these kind of initial steps. And I want to access the file and I say select project to launch. And now I want to launch our multiplayer server. So we'll generate task and launch files explicitly targeting those. Like our watch task, run task, and yeah. Also here we are different things. And it's all based on our multiplayer server. I realized we didn't delete our app hoster, which we don't need anymore, so we can just get rid of it. Okay, also done. projects are referenced. Startup is here. Use BlazQ framework files is missing. And because it was not clever to delete one thing because I forgot something, which is not a problem. I've saved it from last times. Yeah, we need to add a package to our solution. So now I'm confused myself. I open PowerShell window here. I'm going into our multiplayer service.net add now a package, and I want to add this package. So package successfully restored. We're going back into, we don't have this problem with the framework files anymore, and I think I could also use WebAssembly debugging information, which is here. Okay, maybe it was so what was the reason for doing all of it? We want to prepare a solution to serving or to having also multiplayer capabilities. So we changed our old hosting model from serving files to serving more. We're doing it by starting a new project with a new kind of sub-scope. The scope was Web API, and I will explain what Web API means. For now, we see we have a kind of slightly different startup with more capabilities. We also added our shared library here. We update our solution file to include all the other solutions as well. Yeah, and last thing I need to do, go ahead, I need to go to add the reference to the shared project also here, so .NET add reference, and I need to go back to BlazQ shared, where I find CS project file. Okay. I just want to make sure one thing. .NET 5, okay. It's a .NET 5 class. Perfect. So now we should go open a new terminal, and we could run our watch task, or we could go directly into our server and using a .NET watch. And I want to run the run command here. So as a result, this is new, is a so-called Swagger document where we can see our API things. I'm more interested in the Blazor type of things, and for some reason the CSS didn't seem to load. Which is interesting. Okay, here we are. Here we are. Here we are not. Use static files is missing. Add use static files. So, and because there will be a lot of, here we are. Yay! So you can see basically our server missed the capabilities to serve static files, and so it was not possible to have these. Okay, so you could say basically we are the same as we before, just spending a lot of minutes here to getting the projects ready. Actually, 20 minutes, amazing. Yeah, okay, but now we can restart with the interesting thing. So before we explore all of these options here in the server, we still going back to our application and focusing on cleaning up the thing. So player details page. This is the page we see here. And we change our kind of handling that we using. I'm doing something. We change our handling here. So this page should not gathering all information of local players. It should be the kind of portal into a lobby. So the user here can create his profile, its profile, their profile, sorry, can create their profile. And from there, they will see a lobby page. So we don't need this footer content here anymore. We don't need the logic to create this game session. So we can kind of tidy up the things here. Um, yeah, starting with the footer. We don't have players anymore, and we don't have the button here anymore, so we get rid of it. We can then also shorten the footer. So footer not here anymore. So next thing, we need to change, not this is perfect, but we need to change what happened if we saying add player. Add player would be also switched to something not like add player, but to something like, well, um, joining game or joining lobby. So we don't need disabled anymore. Finish. Input is also nice. Validation message is nice. And I don't need to change. So now we go into our, and it's not add player anymore. It's start maybe lobby. Okay, and now we're going step by step through everything. We still need our model to create. Perfect. We don't need the list of players anymore. Avatars, perfect. If the page is created, we don't need to have like predefined values anymore. Add player doesn't exist in this case. It's now something like start lobby. We don't need these anymore. Technically, we don't even need the possible avatars anymore. And yeah, I mean, we could get rid of a lot of them. Choosing here our player model, extracting it, player, because we will need it later. We don't need these anymore. We're using our game session. And we navigate to lobby. We don't need start game anymore. And players will be now like, um, yeah. Also, the game session will be completely, not completely, will be um, adjusted a bit. And yeah, so for now, and hi Pete, or hi Pete here, sorry, wrong camera. And yeah, so we make a kind of little trick. I create a new, we see like list player. This is kind of a not really used anymore. It's a new thing, and we have like not really used anymore. Add our player, and we have like not used anymore here. Okay, so with all of these changes in place, Already changes in place. Um, yeah, we starting to create a new folder, calling it lobby, where we have our new file, which is our lobby page dot razor, and we're starting by, I wouldn't call it copy and paste, but we can use some of the logic we already have on our game session page. So we're going back to game, our game session page, and as I said, we be inspired by what we have done so far. So we go into our lobby, changing it to lobby, and only if the state here is good. Also a nice point we have already created. And I don't need an edit form, I need a header, I need a content thing, and a footer. And for our footer, we could now say like players equals to something we extract from here, which is called our session. It may seem like maybe confused practice of copying things which are already there. Um, and there's a kind of truth in this statement, and there are better ways to do it. But as I said, it's about learning purpose, and I think it's totally fine to rethink why we have added something in this place, and if we can reuse it um, in a very easy way. And easy is not always the best option here. Anyway, so we can reuse the footer. We could see session dot players. We don't need an edit form here anymore, so we could get rid of it. Um, yeah, welcome to BlazQ. Welcome to your lobby. And I don't need this more anymore. We can go from here. So now we would have two cards like all players. We don't need these anymore. And we have the second card. And the second card has something maybe like my lobby. So the body would be something like display all online players. And here would be something like display all players in my lobby. So I'm going to our game session page where we have also something here which which was responsible that if someone navigate directly to our lobby in this case, he will be redirected back to, or they will be redirected back to the navigation page. Navigation page, redirected back to the root thing. Yeah. So we saving all of our changes. There's kind of error here. Start lobby, right? I didn't change it. Start lobby to add player to start lobby here. So saving it again. So what we expected now would be like I will be redirected back to lobby as soon as I enter valid data, and then I would see a slightly different thing. So we don't have a footer anymore, which makes sense. I Alice, which is also kind of interesting point here to mention. So and we see welcome to your lobby, all players, my lobby. So again, not really new things. We just kind of generating the client side or getting the client side ready for the next interaction. Okay, um, I will drink something. So now we're going to our understanding of the server here, the server component. Okay, we have here a template. In this template, there are already existing some things like a controller. Here we have a weather forecast controller, just to, as you can see, um, here's not logic in it. It's just like um, randomly returning values. The important thing is I could use these API here, and I will using it in a kind of different way. So it's a weather forecast. So as you can see, it's using the same basic concept. I'm sending a request and I'm getting a response. Only the response here is slightly different. It seems like a format which is easily to read by machines. Again, if I do the same thing here, I'm getting back a different result. But the mechanism is still the same. What we see here is called, or more in general, we have a so-called client-server model. In a client-server model, we have a client asking for access to resources or accessing resources, and maybe better than access for resources. And we have a server, and the server's responsibility is um, to serve a request. In this thing we're using here in a browser and nearly in all modern web applications, we're using a protocol which is called HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol. And the hypertext transfer has an underlying model of request and response. A client is sending a request and getting a response back from the server. And the request and response can vary in their format. A request could be like here, I want to get what is on the page. Or request could be, I want to get a weather forecast. The responses can also differ widely. We can just returning a static file, which is, by the way, done here in an instance, and then magic browser, JavaScript, and WebAssembly is working. But from a server perspective, I just returning a static file. Or I can even execute some logic and returning a representation here of an object in my programming or in my software development thing. So we will use this concept to transferring the player information we gathered in the form before to the server, and we'll use the server to query to get all active players. So this is the first step we're doing here. And our, again, first task we want to accomplish is I want to send my data, my personal data I added before, my player profile to the server. And I want to ask the server about all current or players who are currently active. Sorry, that's yawning. Interesting. Yeah, I haven't slept very long in the recent days, and I'm also a bit tired. But it's better now doing things like these. Okay, so let's kind of inspect the anatomy of a controller here. So a controller, which we see here, it's called a concept deeply down in object orientation. So we could say a weather forecast controller is a controller base. So it inherits all his capabilities, and there are a lot of capabilities built into this class. Then we see something here which are called decorators, which we have also seen, or maybe you remember back when we done the validation thing where we added a required or a min length onto our model. So yeah, we have an API controller and a route. I'm not really, to be honest, I don't like the kind of default template created with the web API new template. So it's better, not better. I think it's more easier to understand if we starting from a new controller. So and we call the class. Oh, sorry. Controls the class lobby controller. So in our lobby controller, we want to have, sorry, lobby controller should be from controller base, and it's an API controller. Again, what does an API controller means? So um, any response based on a request from a client, so any response of this controller is intended to be consumed not by a user, but by another program. So we don't return any valid HTML. We don't return even we don't return other possible results. We're only focusing on returning data, um, or sometimes no data as a kind of special special edge case. And that's why we're using API controller. Inside an API controller, we have a method. We can name the method in any way. We can import this. We need to return an iAction result, which is then executed by the framework, to be more precise, by the pipeline, to generate these things here. So public are action result, and let's say um, add player. So add player needs to have an input, and that's now where our shared library comes in place. I want to add a new folder, and I want to call this folder requests. And in this request, I want to create a new file, and I want to call it player um, add player request. And I want to have like public class add player request. And I missed the extension. Add player request. I want to have public string my player name, get set, and I want to have avatar URL. So the point here is these requests and responses will be used to transfer data between our client and the server. And this data will be, and to do so, we need to kind of put this data into a wire. So we need to think about a format which will be understand for both sides. And one thing to do is the so-called serialization. So what we're doing is we're creating a representation of our model in text. This is what we see here. I just zoom in. So we have a representation of something which is called weather forecast. Weather forecast has a date, temperature in Celsius, and whatever this F is, this strong Fahrenheit thing. And we have a summary. So if we can see, we have a date, we have a temperature, Celsius, as I said, this strange thing here, and we have a summary. So what you could see here is a representation. It's a representation as a text of the same object we see here. And there are serializer on both sides. So there are methods for serializing our objects, so making from the object a string representation. And there are also the opposite action. I think you could say the opposite action of performing a string to an object conversion. And this is called deserialization. And so, and both need to have kind of full access to these models here. That's why we don't really put any logic in here. They are just containers. They're just containers for serialization. So we try to make them as easy serializable as possible. So we just having basic get and set, and yeah, so that it can be easily sent over the wire. And even if you do it here locally, and there's not really a wire, as we have seen in the example I showed you before, I have used a public available address. So, and yeah, then I had to really wire at least somewhere in between. Um, yeah, so we have our add player request. We're using this add player request as an input here, and then I can doing something. So next thing I can set, I will explain it as soon as I've written API. I have my lobby and I have like player. And I need to add another thing here from body. So, and we just returning to kind of getting rid of the compile error here. And last but not something I didn't expect it here should be using BlazQ, share it. Oh, yeah. Um, I need to have a namespace around it, which is BlazQ, share it, requests. In this namespace, I have a class. It's called I confused myself. Namespace, open brackets, closing brackets, a name. Anyway, um, what is my mistake? I'm not at file. I want to C# class. I'm highly confused. Um, let's see what the difference is. So I'm creating a new. I think I missed something very, very easily. Namespace, BlazQ shared request. Namespace, BlazQ shared request. Does it not exist? Request. Highly confused. So, well, let's see what is the difference here. If I using these, using system makes sense. So, anyway, um, we call it voodoo because I want to really move on because we have so many interesting things on our list. So I create our request. Our request is now wait, add player request. What? I haven't saved it. Makes sense. Makes sense. I'm just, what happened? What's wrong? Okay, player request is still missing. It's still missing. But I could use new class 2. Oop, oop, which doesn't make sense because new class 2 doesn't exist anymore. So I think it's like a zero error. I just will stop um and just be curious if I get a compile error or not. So we see something odd happened here. Um, I just close the file, close it again. I think also before was not really um, kind of mistake here. Okay, anyway, so that means I was not until sense. I'm confused. I don't like it. So what I will doing here is like I stop it, I open it again, and hopefully this kind of reload helps us. Okay, loading, loading, loading. Ooh, there we are. Ooh, I can navigate. Okay, so sorry for the kind of interruption here. Really, sometimes, sometimes there are things. Okay, so important here is now we have our controller. Our controller accepting a request and needs to generate a response. This is the kind of the entire responsibility of the controller. The responsibility of a controller, and this is often misunderstood, is not to actually doing whatever is needed to make or to process a request into a response. It's just therefore accepting a request and generating a response based on our business logic or domain logic. And the domain logic here is like the player lobby. And to avoid, this is very important, to avoid this kind of common trap where everything is glued together into one method, we creating in our multiplayer server a new folder called domain. And in our domain, we have a new class, and this class is now something like um, server side player. Just to kind of make a distinguishing on the basis of the name to our player in our Blazor app. So yeah, server side player. And we think about our player here needs to also have a name and also need to have a avatar URL. And also, and this is very important, we need to identify each user. So we're using an identification or a shortened ID, and the ID is of the type of a so-called GUI ID, Global Unique Identifier. And we can be a kind of sure that these IDs will be unique because they're using a lot of different bits, 128. So you have 2 power 128, which is a very big number of different unique identifiers. Never seen it can be really like scientific to uh, it's a pretty big number. So so many different GUIDs are possible. So 3.4 exponent 38. So we need to add 38 zeros. That's his number. Quite impressive. Okay, so we have a GUID here, and so this is our player. And sorry, I was too fast because now we are on the main thing, and we haven't method that someone can change a name. So we said we can only set it on initialization of the object. We don't have a method either for changing URL, and we don't, yeah, and we don't want that the GUID can be changed over time because again, it's our unique identifier. And if someone, which will be by the way our controller soon, creates a player, we need to have a name, we need to have an avatar, and yeah, and we could say we need also an ID. Yeah, makes things easier this way. So it's a very boring constructor, just assigning stuff. And so, but more interestingly is we'll create a second object, which we now call lobby. And a lobby has also an identifier. So because multiple players can be in the same lobby, there is no clear correlation between, or there's no connection between like one player has one lobby. I mean, there has to be in one lobby, yeah, but it's not like the ID of the player is also the ID of the lobby. So we're creating a new ID, and as we have seen, there are a lot of possible IDs we can generate here. Um, so we have an ID, and also we have a list. I'm using list here, even if there are better types. I have a list of server-side players, and I don't call them players, I call them specifically members here. And as a kind of any new way, I want to put a new value into it. And the same is true for the GUID ID. Okay, we need to add some usings. We need to add some usings here. Is GUID and init. So, and a lobby can only be created. Oops. Lobby can only be created if I have like my first player member, and I said members add first member. So here we have our lobby, here we have our player. Now our player has also a lobby by the name, which goes by the name lobby and has get and init. And we say like new lobby. And now we're using something very magical, which is called this. So remember, a lobby needs a player to start. And here in the constructor, I'm creating a player. So I need to have a kind of a name. I need to have a name for the current instance. And this is this. Yeah, so I want to create a lobby and I want to put myself, again, this is the controller constructor. It's a constructor here, and I want to put myself into the role of being part of the lobby. So I enter this. Okay, this is perfect. I need to have a method like, yeah, maybe we're starting very basically, just having the concept and models here. And what I also create is a player registry. And our player registry has a dictionary. You remember dictionary was like a collection between keys and values dictionary. I want to have a GUID and I want to have a player. And these are all active players. And it should be should be enough. So using system, collecting generic, using system. So, and here we want to have also a method add player, which accepting a server-side player. So, for some reason, think about someone hit the um, button twice or any kind of yeah, glitch in the network. It could be possible that we have already a player with the same ID. So we said if active player contains key of player.id, if this thing is true, there's no need for us to do anything. So we can return. Otherwise, active players, we want to add player.id and player. So we have all our players now in a huge list. And to make it a kind of, so we have our player registry. Now we can use, this is something now very interesting here. I explain soon. Creating some field registry and 0 limit registry. So add player. Now we know what add player should do. I should create a server-side player, which will be derived from the request. So I have request.name, request. Again, kind of boring here, but it makes sense if these things getting more complex. Um, request ID, and I'm missing an ID, and I will explain soon why doing it. Actually, I don't have to. We change a small thing. I've done it in preparation differently, but now if I think about it, it's better to do it this way. We get rid of the due ID here, and we said ID is due ID new. Oops. Okay. And I have my registry. I want to add player, player. And I want to do something. It's finished. Now I need to return. And after, as we have our player request, I hope now it's getting easier. I create a new folder. I'm calling it responses. In this response, I add a new class, and this class is called add player response. Now I'm curious. Can I say response, new response, and okay, this time it's working much better. I'm not just saying it's working as expected and like a charm. So, and we just returning the player ID here. And oops. So here we have our response. And as I said, it's not about creating elegant solutions here. I mean, especially in these part of request and response, they are just really containers for transporting information. So we said player ID is our player.id and should be this one. Okay, last thing regarding the controller here. Okay, so each HTTP response has a kind of status code in it, and this status code is oops, I just want to show it. It's an indication. Um, confused. Controller, weather controller, it's weather forecast. So it's like it's not running our application. Amazing. Um, I want to, yeah, it's amazing. Change directory, right directory, change directory into BlazQ multiplayer service dot net watch and run. Yeah, it was a good error. Um, I saw the illusion of having a kind of running system because I had a running system before. Um, so um, we have weather forecast. As again, I just want to show this status code thing here, and I need to get a working example. So as we see, I'm sending in a so-called get request, a get, and as a result, I'm getting a 200, which is okay. And in the response, I see this value here. So this is what these okay mean. So I'm returning, so I'm returning just an okay. Okay, so wait a second. I need to readjust my place here for the next thing. Okay, so yeah, um, yep, sorry, back to track. We have our controller, we have one method, so we can play and we can add a player. But it would also be good to see all other player who are online. So we create a second thing. And again, I copy it and I copy it to change the interesting thing. So now it's players. I don't have a request anymore. I just want to request or not more information anymore, still a request. And see like get all players. And here we are. So I still have my registry. Um, and I want to see like get all players. Again, a controller is just responsible for kind of being a mediator between um, what we can call our logic, our behavior of our application, and what we have in return on our what we need to send on the wire. Okay, so this thing doesn't exist so far, which is great. I mean, which is not great, but something we could do. And I want to take a kind of shortcut here. So I create a class, and this class is now called, um, give me 1 second, server side player. So it's like server side player overview. I don't want to send our domain logic back to the client, which is just not a good idea because there are things like the lobby, things the client is not interested in. So I create again, just another model, which is not really, yeah, just another model, not this entire class, sending data between, and we adding and we having a ID. All these things again, and so we have these things here. And I want to say, I got lobby control here, so where I want to go. Add player, get all players, and this should be like a list. No, don't want to. Of server-side players. But I don't want to return the players. What I want to return, and I just make now something which seems like really magic. Not these jumping through things, but and I will explain briefly what it means. I want to select a new um, we split it for response. Result. I getting here. I closing select. I closing to list. And I creating a response, new class, response, which has like get our players, list, server side. So, and then I want to return a new get our players response, and players is our result. And get our players is also a very easy to implement function here because it's just a wrapper around active players values. So we want to return all our active players here. And I go into a kind of more generalized version, which is, yeah, so things looking good here, things looking good here. Not well forecast, not needed anymore. Everything unsaved. And I go into my controllers, lobby controller. Okay, makes sense. So I should be also select is still working. Okay, one tiny thing we need to discuss before we can start and talking about the client thing here. It's like this one. I just created a lobby controller with constructor. No new things here. I just put in a player registry. And what I haven't really talked about is where does this player registry come from? Okay, we have created a class here, but remember we need here it's not a class, it's an instance. So someone needs to create an instance. And this system or this ASP core system comes with something which is called dependency injection. So I'm just saying I want to have a service. I want to have a singleton of a player registry. So services is always a dependency injection. So a system which injects us different classes, implementation into our controllers, into all other things we have in these realm of .NET ASP Core. A singleton is an kind of lifetime pattern in these dependency injection, which means as long as the application lives, there will be only one instance of the player registry, which makes sense because we haven't really talked about how we could save these things into a database or anything. So we need to have these like in memory as long as our application lives. And with this player registry, we basically do the same thing here. Okay, a lot of files to save. We see if we have any errors from here. No, we haven't, which is great. And now we can go back to our client and implementing these two methods here. Like we have now a lobby controller. I will close all other tabs, close others. And now we need to do the same thing. Not the same thing, but generating the request and acting on the responses on a client. So on our lobby page, here we are. We're starting by something we have done before. I want to inject something. This time I want to inject an HTTP client. So something we can use to send data to a server, or in this case to our server. And I forgot to copy one line because I haven't remembered. Give me 1 second. Start up program. Notepad. Here we are. So, and the same thing as we've seen before, the dependency injection is also working our Blazor application. Here, it's not as advanced. I mean, it is. We can use the same thing. It's just sometimes a little bit more details to explain. I want to add a service. This service should be at scope. What does at scope mean? It meaning per request. So as long as the lobby page is open, we will have the one HTTP client. And I want to add an HTTP client. And this HTTP client should have a base address, which is the same as we used here in our as we loading our Blazor files from. So what this means, whoever we want to contact is the same server we get our Blazor files from, which is true because it's the same program here. It's our multiplayer server. Having set up these things, we can now use it here in our lobby. So we could do it on the player page, would be one possibility, but we can also do it here. So there's something override protected override protected override on initialized async. Important here is to know that all this communication between client and server will happen in a so-called asynchronous manner. So the page is already rendered and then the request is made, and the request can return at any time. We don't know if it will be executed directly or in 100 milliseconds or in 200 milliseconds or longer. So we don't know for sure. So what we're doing here is we have a live, we could use here. We could use the kind of initialize async lifecycle hook to get the initial request out to our server. Okay, and I can doing it by using wait, I'm using our client, and I can have post as JSON async. JSON is the format we have seen before, and yeah. So which URL we are using? Using the URL of API/lobby/player. So API/lobby/player. And I will need to put in our new, and now I need to, we have here our add player request. So I need to put in our add player request, which is in the space of, using BlazQ shared responses. And because we also will need soon the request, I'm just adding both of them. And I like to have the things at the top of the page. So new add player request. And what we're doing here, we're using the values provided by our session. So we have name is session.name player.name, and we have session player. So with the player, there's one thing. I change it to player. I rename it to first player. This is something we created, I think, 2 episodes before, and from there I forgot to kind of cleaning up. But now we can say it's kind of a good thing. So I just want to return player as the first player, which is index 0. So, and we know the if response message is success status code equals true. I want to set the ID of my player. So, and we know the response will be at player response. So I can say the actually at player response is nothing else than wait again, because I want to use our response message. I want to use the content, and I want to say it is going to the next line. Um, Yay. Oh, and so then I want to know which UID I have. So I have a private UID and current ID. Maybe not current, just player ID. So, and our player ID is our response player ID. And if I was able to successfully register myself, I can go and ask again, because now I want to have a GET request, and we know the second one will give us our get all players response. So I call it player response is wait client get from JSON. Here we are. I go into the next line again to make it a little bit more convenient, and I want to have here our URI, which is players with a S, indicating it's more than one. Okay, so now we are able to request data from the service, and I introduce private list server-side player overviews active players. So active players is player responses dot players, and I want to do it very simple to just make a concept or prove that it's working. So all players, I create a list, and for each item in active players, yep, I want to have a list item.name. So, and to prevent a null reference exception, we saving a lot of more files. Yep, it's styled. I'm going here. I open a new incognito, which is huge. Okay, now it's getting interesting. After all of these, will be errors or not? So I see Ben is here. Makes sense because I've joined it. I'm going directly to try it again. And I'm Bob. And you can see Ben and Bob is here. What we can't see is like Bob now has joined, but I don't see Bob here because if you can remember, it is a static thing. we register ourselves, and then we're getting back the list of players which is known by the time. So as soon as the information is outdated, which happens as soon as we have a new player, the all players who have registered before, I think this is a very interesting sentence, I will repeat again. Um, yeah, don't know about the update. So again, in the classical model, it's a request and a response. I'm requesting access to the lobby, and then I request a list of active players. Is something in between happen? I do not know about it. And of course, we can create a refresh button. We could think about a lot of different possibilities here. But yeah, let's introduce a way which can handle it much more smoothly. So as mentioned before, the HTTP protocol has a kind of, I wouldn't call it a constraint necessarily because there are also ways to find creative ways around it. But the request need to be initiated by a client. There's no straightforward way for a server to answer or to notify the clients about a change. One thing which is possible to do is not new technology, but it's a different technologies. So a client who is willing to accept notifications from a server, sending a special HTTP request, um, sending a specialized HTTP request, which say, I want to upgrade my connection to allow you to send me updates. So it's still initiated by the client, but the client negotiate with the server a kind of a back channel, so a channel from the server to the client. And in the .NET space, Microsoft has developed the so-called Signal R library to kind of solve this problem. Yeah, I will drink something, and then we going right into Signal R. Toot, 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 toot. Okay, so Signal R uses a concept which is called hubs. So hubs are in a way comparative to controllers just for the purpose of bidirectional communication, so of communication from the server back to, to the client. So what I'm doing now, I close all of these files to be not confused by them. I going into our startup class, and I need to add services, add Signal R. I will create a new folder, which I don't call controllers, which I call hubs. Again, you could see there's similarity here. And in these hubs, I will create a new file, which is our not file, a new class. I want to create a new class, which is our lobby hub. And I'm just saying again, lobby hub is a hub. So next thing in the startup, in our kind of map controllers, there's also possibly endpoints map, and then I can say map hub. And I want that our lobby hub can be accessed by the URL of lobby. Lobby hub and using hub. It's the same as the controller. And there are also default ways to map lobbies to map lobbies. This is also the default way to map hubs to URLs. I like the explicit, by the way, here more because I also like the explicit way on controllers more. If you're seen on the root or on the HTTP GET or HTTP POST way. Yeah. So anyway, what does it mean? As soon as these kind of upgrade connection I've told before, want to access the lobby hub should be responsible for handling all of these interactions. So we have our lobby hub here. Our lobby hub is a hub. So signal R can I find it when I started with it a bit of confusing. Signal R can also be used to send information from the client to the server. So the same we can do with the normal HTTP client, with the normal concept of HTTP. This is one thing the system can do, and there are good reasons to do some of our logic this way, and we also will do it in our project here. But there are also kind of good reasons to um, to avoid it. On the other hand, which is also very important, the server can invoke methods on the client. Again, what I mean is like I'm sending a notification, something has changed, like new player joined, and in response, I hope that the client will act accordingly. So what I can do, I can define the not defining it or declare. I can declare the methods um, in a client by adding something. I want to have a new interface, which I call I lobby client. And this lobby client, for example, has a task, not public, has a task, which is like new player. And I have like a server. Give me 1 second. I forgot how I named it. Yep. I have these as a new player. Using lobby client, lobby hub, and now our lobby hub is something like so. Meaning these are all methods here in the lobby client, which is no, sorry, it's lobby hub still, but I'm in hub of type I lobby client. And again, this means all these methods defined here in this interface can be used, are potentially available on the client. Okay, here we have our lobby hub. So now we want to inform our clients here. So we're going into our controller, our lobby controller. And now I don't only need our registry here, I need also something which is called I hub context of lobby hub. And the lobby hub is a hub of I lobby client. I lobby client. And I call it hub context. Oops. I want to create an assigned field hub context because I'm a friend of underscore. Oops. Yeah. I'm a friend of underscore. It's hub context. Okay, this is something everyone is interested in, is if I have a new player. So what I'm doing here, response, everything is fine, it's added. So I say hub context clients all, and all clients please get a new player. And the player is a new. It's interesting because I don't have kind of player model here, so I need to do something first. Add player returns the player. Oh, sorry, was a little bit too fast. So we have already our player here. So I can say player ID. Yeah, correct. I can say sorry, hub context. I want to have a new server-side player overview, and the ID should be our player.id. Name should be player.name, and request and avatar should be player.avatar URL. Okay, so our hub context here is finished. And I think I've done a building error. Now, okay. Now we're going back to our Blazor client. And here we need to add a new little package. And I forgot the package name, which is not a problem. Get org. I want to have it's Microsoft ASP core signal R client. Whoa, was a good one. Good guess. So I just don't want to have the preview version. Here, I want to have this version. Copy. PowerShell is maybe still open. BlazQ episode 7. Yeah, I can add .NET add. I think it's already. Yeah. So here we are. And closing everything. It's just a kind of distraction here. Going to our lobby registration page. So I'm sending that I'm interested in. I register myself. I get all players, which is totally fine. Now I'm doing something which is called hub context. Hub connection is using Microsoft ASP.NET Core Signal R client. In this client, I should have a hub connection. Connection is like new hub connection builder. I'm confused. New connection. New hub connection. Was a kind of convenient method to do so. Anyway, if I can't remember, I at least where to have to look. So we want to have like laser where's signal R and scroll. Hub connection builder. Ah, I yep. I forgot the kind of chaining thing here. So we have already, and for the hub connection, we can use a hub connection builder, which provides convenient methods, which I was looking for to. So we have a new connection. Our connection should be using a URL, which is not chat hub, which is lobby, and we're using it based on our navigation manager, which has the kind of base address for our application. Again, because we use the same server, we don't have to think a lot about it. So I can say connection. Then it's something which is called on. On. Now we're starting with the kind of method name. And that's an interesting thing here. I could, sorry, to make the effect more kind of more visible using laser. So, and I can always copy. There's no need for, I won't have the entire shared thing, because in the shared thing, I have the name of I lobby client, where we have our new player. And if I go in here, I see this is the thing. This is the thing here I want to have. And now I need to specify a method. So I need to specify which method should be invoked as soon as the server notify us about a new player. So well, let's create this method here. So we have like private void new player, which is our player. And I'm again pretty simple. I say our active players add player. And important is now I need to call state has changed to inform the UI that it needs to re-render itself. Again, it's happened at a totally unpredictable time. So there is not like we have like action we have before, like we're clicking a button or so. It's just happens somehow somewhere. Here I have my new player. And last thing I need to do is like await connection start a thing. In the example I showed you, there's also one very valuable thing I want to copy. It is this. Meaning our hub connection here is becoming a field. I rename it. And here we are, hub connection on, connection status sync, and this post sync, which also means, and I explain as soon as I've finished. The thing here is, the hub connection has a kind of default timeout. It stays as long as this timeout is not received, and it will consume resources from the server and from the client. So having this in mind, we can say if this component is recycled by Blazor, so if we navigate into a different page, we want to be disconnected from the hub. What does this mean, disconnected? We wouldn't receive real-time updates anymore. Because we're not interested in anymore, we're on a different page. So this is what we're doing with the this post sync here. Oh, yeah. And I need to say hub connection. Okay, so again, we're building our hub connection, we connecting to our server, and then we're starting, and as soon as we have a new player, we want to be informed. So we're saving what we have done so far, rebuilds, by having my two session here. So I'm starting the first one with Alice. I'm starting with my second one, Bob, Alice and Bob, and Alice and Bob. Remember, we see here Alice, this type we see here Bob. So we have solved this issue. As soon as we have a new player, it is displayed here. So I'm Just making the same thing again for someone we have not seen before. Let's call him Charlie. Um, Charlie see everyone here, which also mean Bob sees everyone and Alice sees everyone. So we have accomplished one thing without reloading, without any other interaction. We're sending a notification from the server to the Blazor client, and the Blazor client can act accordingly. In this case, adding a player to a list of active players. So that's a great thing here. You can see here. Um, yeah. So one thing accomplished. We see now like a real-time list of all players of BlazQ. Now, as the page title suggested, we haven't really talked about a lobby, but now we're creating a lobby. So a lobby should be a kind of separated space where we can find each other to play a game. So we have already created the lobby in a kind of the server side um, way by having one member, but there's no possibilities to join or um, to leave a lobby. So let's start from there. Let's start and create something here in our lobby controller, which will be also a post. Um, oh, I forgot something here. Important. Um, to make sure that we like sending all message to other players before returning to the first one. Um, yep, that's why we need to. It's a task and we need to await it, and we forgot task. Yep, task. Okay, so now next exercise we want to join a lobby. So each player already has a lobby of its own, but we don't have like yeah, like we can't join other players' lobbies. So lobby join. We had not add player request. We have a new one, which is now request. We want to add a new class, which is join lobby request. We have like a UID of the host, and let's say we have like join me ID. I know it's not kind of correct term here, but I think in the context it's make it more clear what our intention behind this field here is. So up we have our join lobby request here. So first we need to, and now again, our controller is not responsible for the logic, it's responsible for here. And we will just say we have in our registry a method like join lobby, and we said request host ID request dot joinee ID. And I want to generate a method here. And we're doing so if active player contains key host ID equals false, maybe the host not active anymore or has left, we just don't want to execute it. The same is true for the same would be true if active players contains key of joinee ID is false. Again, this means or, so either we don't find the host or we don't find the joinee. But in each cases, we want to not process with this method any further. So now we're getting our player, server-side player. Player is active player's host ID. And I want that someone is join you, and whoever joins you is the joinee on the joinee ID. Yeah, so we don't have the method yet, which is fine because we generated. Okay, if someone joins your lobby, we would say lobby members add joinee. However, we can also say joinee lobby equals my lobby. So now we have both. We tell we tell the joinee lobby to use our lobby. Again, it's init. So now we see it's not only init, but it's private set. And I don't like to have these like add member joinee, which means like I want to my members add joinee. And maybe I want to have something like members contains joinee equals false. So maybe we forgot to implement any logic to prevent a player from clicking twice or so to joining a lobby. We want at least be safe from a kind of domain perspective that we will only have one um yeah one instance of the same player in a lobby. So we going back here, join lobby, um, lobby is joined, resetting. Yep, yep. Yeah, and before I think we could add one other thing like joinee lobby, or we would say joinee leave lobby. So if we say private void, I want to leave my lobby, would be like lobby leave lobby leave would be mean like members. So in this case, if I want to remove, it doesn't. If the player's already removed, it wouldn't change something. So we don't need to check here. So again, join. What's the join mean? So the join leaves their lobby. Our lobby get a new member, and the new lobby of the joinee is our, so the host lobby part here. So yeah, looks good from this perspective. We still have join lobby here, add player, and yeah, I mean, it would be great to know in which lobby we are. So maybe we should return a GUI ID of the lobby ID. So here we are, not a void, but a GUI ID. And we return. Now it doesn't matter which one because they are the same, but let's say I want to return player.lobby.id. And I change player to host because it makes more sense. Um, so lobby controller. Since I have this, I can think about what is the kind of result of joining a lobby. I think we got the lobby ID, which is great. So we have join lobby request. So there's a join lobby and class join lobby, which has like a lobby ID. But I think it's also important to realize that we have like a list of members in the lobby if we join them as a result, because then we can display who is um, who is in the list. So after I joined them, or after players joined, would be great to get like a list server-side players members would be something like registry get um, lobby members of lobby ID. So next step, generating a method and going through here, which is again quite easy. Um, and lobby would be kind of complicated because we don't save lobbies yet. So let's say like host ID or in general player ID. We have again like if active players contains key player ID equals false, return null, empty, empty list, an empty list. Otherwise, we go to our player, and we return player lobby members. Okay, so finished here, and we already had such thing here. So now would be a kind to say private get overview from player. Sorry, jumping. And we have like I variable of no of players and return result. Again, I try to not do two things at the same time again. So because I had already this function here. So now we say I want to return base.ok with a new join lobby response. Not again. I renamed it renamed it wrong. Lobby response. Yep, lobby response. We go into our controller where we have here. I have my lobby ID, which is lobby ID, and I have my members, which is like get from overview from players, which is members. Okay, and it's not. It's now join lobby. Okay, so this error here is saying async and await we will handle soon because we haven't really thought about the back channel here. For now, it's again restarting briefly. So close others. We're going back to our lobby page. We're creating a new method where we say private async task, join lobby, and I say host ID. So we already know how to do it. I say our response message. I just want to get the name straight because I don't know what I've used before. It's client post from JSON async. We need to specify the route, which is API lobby slash join. And we also know which type of request we're needing. This is request here, where we have like host ID is host ID and joinee ID is player ID. So if response message dot status um, wait is success status code, if this is true, we want to get the response, which is join, which is type join lobby response. Response is await response message content from JSON from content from and we introducing a new variable even from the same time would be like lobby or members in lobby. Here we are, members in lobby response. We haven't used the lobby ID yet, but we will soon if we think about the updating things. Okay, so join lobby is here. We have these things. Now we display, taking the same thing here. Um, displaying all, it's not active player, but it's in my lobby. Okay. So we're reloading page 1 Alice. We are again a new Bob, and we are again a new Charlie. So Alice choosing her. We have the second one, which is Bob. Bob choose fox with a head. And lastly, we have Charlie, and Charlie has cookies. So yeah, and now I totally realize we have written the method and we haven't used it anywhere, which is great. So this is very good. Um, on click. Uh, so on click, we want to have like join lobby of item.id. Yeah, so I think we have already like we are on stream already for 2 hours and we still need to think about some of the UI. So I do it very briefly here, and just assuming if you're clicking on the name, you will join the lobby here. So reloading it again. So reloading it again, reloading it again. Oh, that's lovely. So Alice and Herb, and we have like Bob, Bob and Fox with a head, and we have Charlie, Charlie that kills people. Um, yep. So now I'm Charlie and I want to join Alice. For some reason, it seems not working. I think my click event is not working. My click event is working, and we see the result, but we don't see members. So for some reason, joining is not working. So I just join lobby. I want to contain forms. Host want to join. And to be honest, I don't see the error here. So I'm stopping, touching a breakpoint. It's starting it. The debugger. Okay, so again, reloading. So we have Alice, we have Bob, and Bob want to join Alice. So we see here, we not be distracted. All of these message here. Okay, so what happened? We see we have our host. Our host is Alice. We have our joinee is Bob. Looks perfect. So Bob wants that Alice joins. So joinee is Bob. Bob is not in our lobby, which is the lobby of. Should now have two members, which makes sense. We have Bob and we have Alice. And then we say like, Bob, your lobby is the same. Okay, works as expected. So maybe here we have an error. Because I'm putting in the, which is not right. So yep, found it, perfect. So we stopping here. It's request dot host ID. Back to our terminal and not build, but my normal PowerShell .NET Watch run. We go back to our incognito tabs where we have second try or third try. I think it was third try. So Alice, and we have Herb, and Herb is Herb. Herb is Herb. Why not? Both looking the same. Anyway, um, I'm Herb, and I want to join Alice. Now it's getting interesting. I want to join Alice, and I still have no members. Why? Well, try it again. So stopping here, stopping here. Meantime, reloading. I want to have Alice. Alice. I want to have Bob. I want to have Bob. And Bob want to join Alice. I have two members. Is maybe here something wrong? No, it should not. And the result is hmm. Anyway, confusing. Just to make my case I wanted to do earlier. Now we have the third one, which is Charlie. Charlie is not in lobby. Charlie want to join, for instance, Bob, because Bob matters under the same. I clicking here. I'm getting the request. Now we see here, but we have the same problem again. Only, yeah, with each state, we don't know much about the lobby here. And because it's going late, it's the last thing we do today. So, okay, now we are a part of a lobby. Now we need to inform all other members of the lobby that we have a new member here. And we're doing nearly the same as before. So getting our watch task running again. We have our tabs here. So our hub context we used before. So we have registered, everything is fine, our members are there. So from this point we say hub context. Now it's something I need to do clients. And now I need to have a group. So I don't need to inform all our clients. I only need to inform who are in a lobby. So the concept here I can do with SignalR, I can create a group. And I can now send an information to all members of a group. And as a name, because it should be a unique name, using just our lobby ID. And now I don't want to add a new player, but I want to have something like task, new player in lobby. So new player in lobby, which I don't have so far. I only have the IDs here. So let's say I want to have my player, server-side player, which is our joinee. Should be something like register get player by ID, request joinee ID, and we is going a new server-side model ID. Chup, 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 chup. And I want to create ID should be like joinee.id. Avatar URL should be like joinee avatar URL, and last but not least, name should be joinee.name. And because it's a task, we want to evade it. And this is also pretty easy. We say if active player contains key joining ID equals true, return active players joining ID. Let's return null. So, which is good. Now we need to think about a way how we can how we can say that a client is in a lobby from the SignalR perspective. And this is something which is a hub thing. So I go in our lobby hub, I create a new task which I call like join lobby, and I accepting a GUI ID of type lobby ID. And what I'm doing here, I say wait groups dot add to group async. Our connection ID is the underlying context dot connection ID, and our group name is nothing else than lobby dot to string task is not known, GUID is not known, using. So now we have a method on our hub, and the hub used the underlying connection, so whoever requested to join the lobby, to set this connection ID, to set this Signal R client into a group which has the name of lobby ID as a representation of a string. So is this something? Yeah, now we are kind of set up from a perspective of the server. So it's time to go back to our lobby page. So first we do, after we have joined our lobby, is like our hub connection. I can also send something. I need to specify the method name, just join lobby. I need to specify an argument, which is our response.lobby ID, and that's all. So, and to get updates, I go back to our hub connection. It's not new player anymore, it's new player and lobby. And it's not new player, it's new player and lobby. Just again, is the same, new player in lobby, which is players, lobby members, members and lobby, which need to be changed to here. So let's see what happened here and what will happen. We're having the same example as before. We have 3 clients here. And in the end, it doesn't matter when they join, they should have all the same view of their lobby. So we're starting with Alice. We're starting with Alice. We're starting the next with Bob and Charlie and Charlie. So we're starting. Bob joins Alice. As a result, we see both here. As a result, we see nothing here, which is great. Not what I expected. So let's see what happened here. Here, because we haven't done something so far. Disable cache. I see. Okay, I want to join. Yeah, I want to join Alice. We're getting a join. We're getting all our members back, which makes sense. It seems. Well, let's find out what is going wrong. Okay. Reality didn't change. Yeah. We have a kind of a. That's a very good point. We are initially in a lobby, kind of not initially, implicit we are in a lobby, but we don't subscribing to informs to the lobby here. So it's like we, I can show it in the same example here. Here we see Bob joined the lobby later, so Bob sees the update of Charlie arriving in the lobby. However, the lobby is hosted by Alice as a kind of, and Alice didn't know about the lobby or the lobby ID in the first place. So we need to get kind of the initial connection to the lobby. Yeah, it was a good thing. So where do we start? Not join our lobby, not new player in lobby. We starting initialize this thing. So our add player response so far has only our player ID, but not our um, lobby ID. So we're adding it. As soon as our connection has started, we're using the same thing here as we have done before. We join our lobby, but this time do it on a response. Response written 2 times differently. Response.lobby ID, which is wrong res here, 2 times mistakes. It is response message and is also response. Okay, anyway, send a sync, join lobby here as a kind of initial step. Having said that, we're going back to our add player, and here we need to kind of lobby ID is player dot um, here register player. Here we need to change something. Now I returning no wait player lobby ID is player dot lobby. Here we are. It's correct dot ID. So still an error in accessibility method lobby ID. It's a page lobby. I haven't saved the file. That's why. Okay. So now again, final test. I've, to be honest, lost count, but we are nearly there. Okay, 3 times again. Alice. We have Bob. And as a third, or thirdly, we have Charlie. And Charlie has cookies. So Alice. Um, Alice, Bob. Bob want to join Alice. Alice, Bob, only Bob. And Alice wants to join Bob, for instance. So I see here, I see here, and I see here. So the thing which is missing is like the initial member. And we need to think about also if we can join ourselves and a lot of other stuff here. Um, it was way longer than I expected. In my preparation, it took me also a long time, but I thought because I was thinking and kind of writing script and so on, I totally underestimated the kind of things here. So yeah, next time I think there should be like two different ways, maybe introducing a signal later in a kind of second episode. Anyway, from now we're making here a break. Um, not it's not that we are not finished yet, but I think the basic concept it's clear enough, and from there we can start to next episode to go into our game mechanics here. So yeah, as a kind of um, yeah, just yeah, I'm kind not 100% satisfied. I wanted to show all, but it's okay. So just a little bit of debrief. So what is important? What are kind of important takeaways from this episode? Blazor and also other web apps in general using HTTP to communicate with the server. This protocol has a kind of request and response way of communication. So a client is sending a request, a server is sending a response based on this request. And we can model these quite easily into the application as we have seen like with our controller. The controller itself, I think it's important to think about a controller only as a glue. We have like our request. The controller makes or transforms the request into something which is usable or consumable by the domain or business logic. Then the business and domain logic does its magic, like we have seen for our player registration. And in the end, we're transforming an, a nice output back to the client. Signal R allows us, and this is very important, allows us to send notifications. And I like the concept of thinking about it as a notification from a server to a client. Um, where we have in the classical request and response model controllers, Signal R uses hubs. And Blazor itself uses, I think it's a way like the reactive hub connections. Why reactive? We're defining methods that should be executed if an event happened. And this is a great difference between the request and response model and the kind of reactive nature of notifications. We can never be sure if someone's joining our lobby or not. So we need to be prepared for the event. And as soon as it happens, we react based on we are reactive. While in a request and response manner, it's always like I have a request and I'm expecting you to getting a response. Yeah. So what is next episode? Again, I think valuable lessons have been learned here and valuable concepts has been explained. There are some tricks around leaving lobbies and joining again and keeping the state consistent, but I think it's not really, it's a good exercise, but it's not really important to show it. So next episode, we're going straight from our lobby to starting a game. So we're thinking about how this server will become a kind of central instance for a game session and how we communicate events back to our clients. Yeah. So, and again, from this, we try thinking about how we can store in the case of, yeah, we run out of memory or other things happen. From there, we go into authentication and privacy, and then we are nearly finished. Yeah. So, next episode, as I said, we're cleaning up the mess we have made from today. Um, Maybe not. I've thought about it, but maybe not. I think I will prepare a solution from there so we can entirely focus on the implementation of the mechanics. Yeah, and time is always today in a week. So on March 11, 8 p.m. PST. And yeah, like always, the questionnaire if you like to give me feedback. And overall, I want to appreciate for your time. I know it was a long episode, longer than expected. Um, yeah, would be nice to see you again soon. And yeah, I wish you a lovely day and see you on the next episode. Bye.